Have you ever sunk into the soft embrace of your favorite armchair in the middle of the afternoon? The world outside buzzing faintly as your eyelids grow heavy, and thought to yourself, this nap is exactly what I need. For so many older adults, perhaps you or someone you love, daytime naps feel like a sacred ritual, a well-earned pause in the day's rhythm. The promise of recharging, of shaking off that mid-afternoon slump is almost irresistible. Picture it. The sunlight filters through the curtains, casting a warm glow across the room, and for a fleeting moment, everything feels right as you drift into a gentle slumber. But what if that comforting escape, that brief surrender to sleep, is quietly betraying you? What if, instead of restoring your vitality, those naps are unraveling your health in ways you'd never imagined? As we journey through the later chapters of life, say between the ages of 65 and 80, our bodies evolve, and so do our sleep patterns. The crisp distinction between night and day begins to blur, and daytime dozing becomes less of a luxury and more of a habit. For someone like Margaret, a 72-year-old retired librarian with a love for gardening and crossword puzzles, a nap after lunch has become as routine as her morning cup of chamomile tea. She'd tell you it's her way of keeping up with the grandkids when they visit. Those little whirlwinds of energy who leave her both exhausted and overjoyed. But what Margaret, and so many others, might not realize is that these stolen hours of daytime sleep could be throwing their bodies into subtle chaos, disrupting everything from their energy levels to their heart's steady beat. The truth is, too much daytime sleep doesn't just leave you groggy. It can ripple through your entire being, weakening your metabolism, clouding your mind, and even straining your heart. It's not about shaming the nap itself. A brief rest can be a gift. But when those naps stretch long and frequent, they might be costing you more than you know. In this exploration, we're peeling back the layers of what science has uncovered about excessive daytime sleeping. 7 specific ways it reshapes your body and life, especially in those golden years. From the way it scrambles your internal clock to its surprising effects on your digestion, brain, and even your mood, we'll dive deep into the hidden consequences. Stick with us until the end, because you will uncover simple, practical tweaks to your routine that could unlock better energy, sharper focus, and a healthier, more vibrant you. Ready? Let's begin. Number 1. Disrupts circadian rhythm. Imagine your body as a finely tuned orchestra, each instrument playing in harmony to a rhythm as old as time itself. That rhythm, your circadian rhythm, is the invisible conductor, guiding when you feel awake and alert, and when you naturally crave the cocoon of sleep. It's a dance of light and darkness, a 24-hour cycle that whispers to your brain, now is the time to rise, or now is the time to rest. When it's humming along perfectly, you ease into drowsiness as the stars emerge, and wake with the dawn, refreshed and ready. But for someone like Harold, a 68-year-old widower who spends his days tinkering in his garage workshop, that rhythm has started to falter. After losing his wife 2 years ago, he's found solace in routine, but also in long afternoon naps, sometimes stretching 2 hours or more. He'd say it helps him get through the quiet loneliness of the day, but lately he's noticed he's wide awake at midnight, staring at the ceiling, the silence pressing in. Science tells us why. Long naps, especially those creeping past 30 to 60 minutes, can throw your circadian rhythm into disarray. It's like someone swapped the sheet music mid-performance. Suddenly, the violins are playing when the drums should be, and the whole symphony stumbles. Research reveals that these extended daytime slumbers delay the release of melatonin, the hormone that dims the lights on your waking mind and ushers you into sleep at night. For Harold, that means even after a nap leaves him feeling rested, in the late afternoon, he's tossing and turning when he should be dreaming. Over weeks and months, this confusion builds, unraveling his once reliable bedtime routine into a tangle of restless nights and sluggish mornings. Dr. Robert Harrison, a silver-haired sleep specialist with 25 years of experience and a gentle demeanor that puts his patients at ease, has seen this pattern countless times. Sitting in his cozy office lined with books and a model of the human brain, he explains, many older adults, like Harold, think a long nap can patch up a rough night's sleep. But it's a trickster. Those hours spent dozing in the day signal to your body that it doesn't need as much rest at night. It's like eating a big snack right before dinner. You're just not hungry when you should be. His voice carries a mix of compassion and urgency as he leans forward, hands clasped. The body craves consistency, and when you nap too much, you're muddying the signals. Light plays a starring role here too. Your circadian rhythm thrives on daylight, those golden rays streaming through Harold's workshop window as he sands a piece of oak. But when he naps through the afternoon, curtains drawn, he's missing that vital cue. Less time in natural light weakens his body's ability to tell day from night, leaving him groggy when he should be alert and wired when he should be winding down. Studies back this up. Seniors who nap excessively often report feeling out of sync. Mornings drag with fatigue, evenings buzz with restless energy, and the clock feels like an unreliable friend. If you've ever found yourself staring into the dark after a long nap, heart heavy with frustration as sleep slips away, you're not alone. Harold's noticed it too, those broken nights that leave him reaching for another nap the next day, trapping him in a cycle he can't quite name. Short naps, 20 to 30 minutes, can be a lifeline, a quick recharge without derailing the rhythm. But when they stretch too long, they pull the threads of your natural sleep cycle loose, leaving your body scrambling to find its beat. It's a quiet struggle, but one you can turn around with a little awareness and maybe a little less time in that armchair. Number 2, increases risk of nighttime insomnia. Picture this. It's 11 p.m. and the world outside is hushed, blanketed in the stillness of night. The glow of a bedside lamp casts soft shadows across the room, illuminating a well-worn novel resting on the nightstand. For Ellen, a 70-year-old former schoolteacher with a laugh that still echoes with the warmth of her classroom days, this should be the moment she sinks into the deep, restorative sleep her body craves. Instead, she's propped against her pillows, eyes tracing the same paragraph for the third time, her mind buzzing like a restless bee. Sleep feels miles away, a distant shore she can't reach. She sighs, glancing at the clock, another night slipping through her fingers. And the culprit? That long, luxurious nap she took this afternoon, sprawled across the couch with her tabby cat, Muffin, purring at her side. Ellen's story is one many can relate to. She'd tell you that nap was her reward after a morning spent tending her rose garden, the scent of earth and petals still lingering on her hands. It felt like a gentle hug from the universe, a chance to recharge before dinner with her daughter. But now, as the hours tick by, she's paying a price she didn't expect. Excessive daytime sleep has a sneaky way of stealing the rest you need most, the kind that heals you under the cover of night. It's all about something called sleep pressure, that slow, steady buildup of tiredness that gathers like a storm cloud throughout the day. By bedtime, it should sweep you effortlessly into slumber, a natural tide pulling you under. But when you nap too long, like Ellen's 2-hour escape with Muffin, that pressure dissipates, leaving you stranded on the shores of wakefulness when you least want to be. Research paints a stark picture. A study from the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine found that older adults who nap for more than an hour during the day are far more likely to wrestle with nighttime insomnia. They take longer to drift off, wake up more often to the creak of the house or the rustle of leaves outside, and rise feeling like they've barely rested at all. For Ellen, it's the way she jolts awake at 3 a.m., a heart racing from a dream she can't recall, only to lie there until dawn, counting the stripes on her curtains. Dr. Karen Mitchell, a sleep expert with a sharp mind and a knack for unraveling the mysteries of aging, puts it plainly. Sitting in her office, surrounded by charts of sleep cycles and a steaming mug of peppermint tea, she says, "Your body needs to hit a certain threshold of sleep drive to dive into deep, quality rest at night. Every long nap resets that drive, like letting air out of a balloon. By bedtime, there's not enough left to carry you through." Ellen's noticed the pattern, even if she hasn't named it. The more she naps, the more fragmented her nights become. Short bursts of sleep, pierced by long stretches of staring into the dark. It's frustrating, a quiet kind of torment that leaves her reaching for the TV remote at odd hours, watching reruns of old sitcoms just to feel less alone. Dr. Mitchell's voice softens as she adds, "What most people don't realize is that this cycle feeds itself. Poor sleep at night makes you drowsy during the day, so you nap more, and then the next night's even worse. It's a loop that's hard to break without intention." If you've ever lain awake, tracing cracks in the ceiling, or replaying the day's worries while the rest of the world sleeps, you might recognize Ellen's struggle. The science suggests a way out. Keep naps short and sweet, 20 to 30 minutes, ideally in the early afternoon. It's enough to lift the fog without draining that precious sleep pressure. For Ellen, it might mean setting a timer, resisting the urge to let Muffin's purring lull her past that half-hour mark. It's a small shift, but one that could coax her body back to craving the night's embrace. Because when sleep slips away, it's not just rest you lose, it's the peace that comes with it. The quiet joy of waking up ready to greet the day. Number 3, weakens metabolism and digestion. Imagine the aroma of a hearty vegetable stew simmering on the stove, the kind that fills the kitchen with memories of family gatherings and cozy winter evenings. For Clara, a 75-year-old widow, with a knack for cooking and a collection of recipe cards stained with years of love, lunch is a sacred ritual. She savors every bite at her small oak table, sunlight streaming through the lace curtains, a glass of water sparkling beside her bowl. Afterward, as the warmth of the meal settles in, she feels that familiar pull, the couch calling her name, a soft throw blanket waiting to cocoon her into a nap. It's a routine she's cherished since retiring from her job at the local bakery, a chance to rest her weary legs and recharge. But lately, she's noticed something unsettling, a sluggish heaviness that lingers long after she wakes, a bloating discomfort that wasn't there before. Could that innocent nap be stirring up more than just a few extra yawns? Your body is a marvel of rhythm designed to move and thrive during the day, then rest and repair under the stars. But when daytime sleep stretches too long, like Clara's hour-and-a-half drifts into dreamland, it throws a wrench into the machinery of metabolism and digestion. Think of your metabolism as a steady fire burning through the fuel of your meals to keep you energized and balanced. Studies show that frequent or prolonged naps douse that flame, slowing the rate at which your body burns calories. Over time, this can tip the scales toward weight gain, fatigue, and a creeping sense of sluggishness that Clara started to feel in her bones. She used to bustle around the house after lunch, tending to her herb garden or knitting scarves for her nieces. Now, she finds herself sinking deeper into the cushions, the day slipping away. Digestion, too, takes a hit. Picture Clara lying back after her stew, the rich mix of carrots, potatoes, and thyme settling in her stomach. Normally, a bit of movement, say a stroll to check the mailbox or a sway to the radio, would help her body break it down, sending nutrients where they're needed. But when she naps instead, everything slows. The food lingers, moving through her system like a lazy river instead of a swift stream. Dr. Stephen Langley, a metabolic health specialist with a warm smile and a passion for helping seniors thrive, explains it over a cup of coffee in his cluttered office. When you're upright and active, your gut gets a little nudge to keep things moving, he says, tapping his pen against a diagram of the digestive tract. But lie down too long after eating, and it's like hitting the brakes. That can mean bloating, acid reflux, even indigestion, things Clara might not connect to her naps. Clara's felt it, the way her stomach gurgles unhappily after she wakes, or the sour taste that creeps up her throat some afternoons. She brushes it off as just getting older, but science suggests otherwise. Research from the Diabetes Care Journal adds a sobering twist. People who nap over an hour a day face a higher risk of insulin resistance, a stepping stone to type 2 diabetes. It's a quiet threat, building beneath the surface as blood sugar levels wobble out of balance. For Clara, who prides herself on her independence, still driving to the farmer's market every Saturday, still whipping up pies for church potlucks, it's a wake-up call she didn't expect. Her naps, meant to restore her, might be chipping away at the vitality she's worked so hard to keep. There's hope, though. Experts like Dr. Langley suggest swapping those long naps for lighter activity, a short walk around her garden, the crunch of gravel under her shoes, the scent of rosemary in the air. Even standing to water her basil can nudge her metabolism and digestion back into gear. If Clara must nap, keeping it to 20 or 30 minutes could let her rest without derailing her body's rhythm. It's a small tweak, but one that might bring back the spring in her step, letting her savor her stew and her days with the ease she deserves. Number 4. Alters brain function and memory. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a quiet afternoon in a sunlit study, the kind where dust motes dance in the air and the faint ticking of a clock keeps time. That's where you'd find Thomas, a 69-year-old retired accountant with a sharp wit and a love for history books that line his shelves like old friends. His days are filled with small joys, solving the morning crossword with a cup of black coffee, or recounting tales of the Civil War to his grandson over the phone. But lately, something's off. Words slip away mid-sentence, hovering just out of reach like butterflies he can't quite catch. Yesterday, he forgot where he parked his car at the grocery store, standing in the lot, with a sinking feeling he couldn't shake. For Thomas, a quick nap after lunch has always been his reset button, a 90-minute drift into peace that he swears sharpens his mind. But what if those naps, so comforting in the moment, are quietly dulling the edges of the intellect he's so proud of? The brain is a marvel, a living archive that thrives on rhythm and balance. A short nap, 20 minutes, maybe 30, can be like a cool sip of water on a hot day, refreshing your focus and boosting your recall. But when daytime sleep stretches too long, as it does for Thomas, it's more like a storm rolling in, clouding the clarity you need. A study in Alzheimer's and dementia tracked older adults over years and found a troubling link. Those who napped for more than an hour daily faced a significantly higher risk of cognitive decline. The researchers suspect that excessive daytime sleep scrambles the brain's natural patterns, disrupting the delicate process of storing and retrieving memories. For Thomas, it's not just about forgetting where he parked. It's the fear that these lapses might signal something deeper, a shadow creeping closer than he'd like to admit. Dr. Elizabeth Carter, a neuroscientist with a calm voice and eyes that light up when she talks about the brain, sits in her lab, surrounded by scans and scribbled notes. Your brain needs a structured sleep-wake cycle to do its heavy lifting, she explains, pointing to a chart of neural waves. At night, during deep sleep, it clears out toxins, strengthens connections, and files away the day's lessons. Too much daytime sleep cuts into that nighttime repair, leaving memories frayed and harder to grasp. Thomas doesn't know it, but those long naps might be robbing him of the deep rest his brain craves, the kind that keeps his mind sharp for crosswords and stories. Instead, he wakes feeling foggy, the world a little less crisp than it used to be. There's more at play, too. When Thomas naps through the afternoon, he's not just sleeping, he's missing out on the things that keep his mind humming. The history documentary he meant to watch, the chat with his neighbor about the old mill down the road, the puzzle he promised himself he'd finish, all traded for an extra hour under the blanket. Over time, this lack of stimulation can dull his mental agility, leaving him less engaged, less curious. Dr. Barr. Carter's voice softens as she adds, "It's not just about sleep. It's about what you're not doing. The brain thrives on challenge and connection. Nap too much, and you're starving it of both." If you've ever felt that post-nap haze where names slip through your fingers, or the day feels muddled, you might see a piece of Thomas in yourself. He's starting to wonder if his naps are worth it, especially after misplacing his keys twice last week, only to find them in the fridge beside the milk. The fix isn't drastic. Experts suggest capping naps at 30 minutes and filling the day with small sparks, reading a chapter, tackling a riddle, or stepping outside to feel the breeze. For Thomas, it could mean trading an hour of sleep for an hour with his books, keeping his mind as alive as the stories he loves to tell. Because a sharp memory isn't just a gift, it's a lifeline to the life he's built. Number 5. Raises risk of cardiovascular issues. Picture a crisp autumn morning, the kind where the air carries the scent of fallen leaves and the promise of a new day. That's when you'd find Gloria, a 73-year-old former nurse with a quick smile and a heart as big as the community garden she tends. She's always been the sturdy one, decades spent on her feet in bustling hospital wards, raising 3 kids, and now coaxing tomatoes and zinnias from the earth. Her afternoons often end with a nap, a ritual born from exhaustion and habit, stretched out on her porch swing with a quilt her mother made. It's her time to unwind, the creak of the swing, lulling her into an hour or 2 of peace. But lately, she's noticed her heart fluttering when she wakes, a faint dizziness that makes her grip the armrest a little tighter. She brushes it off as age, maybe the heat, but what if those long naps are whispering a warning she can't ignore? Sleep is a balm for the body, a chance for your heart to slow its steady drumbeat and rest. Yet when daytime naps grow excessive, they can turn that rest into a risk. Research from the American Journal of Cardiology paints a sobering picture. Older adults who nap for more than an hour a day face a 25% higher chance of developing high blood pressure. For Gloria, whose family has a quiet history of heart trouble, her father's stroke at 70 still haunts her. That statistic hits close to home. The science suggests long naps disrupt the body's natural dance of blood pressure regulation, slowing her heart too much during the day, only to jolt it back into action when she rises. Over time, these fluctuations wear on her arteries, straining the organ she's relied on through every shift, every harvest. Mark Holden, a cardiologist with a gravelly voice and 30 years of mending hearts, leans back in his office chair, a stethoscope draped around his neck. When you nap too long, your cardiovascular system gets thrown off balance, he says, sketching a quick graph of heart rate dips and spikes. Your pulse slows for hours, then surges when you wake. Over weeks, months, that constant push and pull taxes the heart. Gloria's felt it, that odd thudding in her chest, the lightheadedness as she stands to water her plants. Studies from the European Society of Cardiology add another layer. Naps exceeding 90 minutes are linked to poor circulation and clot formation, raising the specter of strokes or heart attacks. For someone like Gloria, who prides herself on her strength, it's a quiet threat she never saw coming. There's more to it than just sleep. When Gloria dozes through the afternoon, she's not moving, not walking to the mailbox, not bending to pull weeds. Her days, once filled with the bustle of nursing and parenting, have softened into stillness, and those long naps only deepen the quiet. Less movement means slower blood flow, weaker vessels, a heart that doesn't get the workout it needs to stay resilient. Dr. Holden's eyes narrow as he adds, combine that with a sedentary stretch after a nap, and you've got a recipe for trouble. Plaque builds up, circulation lags, it's a slow burn, but it adds up. Gloria's noticed her stamina isn't what it was. Pushing the wheelbarrow feels heavier, her breath shorter. She chalks it up to time, but her naps might be tipping the scale. If you've ever woken from a long nap feeling off, pulse racing, head spinning, you might hear an echo of Gloria's story. Her heart's been her rock, but now it's asking for a change. Doctors suggest keeping naps short, 20 to 30 minutes, and weaving activity into the day. A stroll through her garden, the crunch of leaves underfoot, the rhythm of her breath, syncing with the world. It's not about giving up rest. It's about protecting the beat that keeps her going. Because for Gloria, every tomato she picks, every smile she shares, is a testament to a heart worth guarding. Number 6. Reduces physical activity and muscle strength. Step into a late afternoon scene where the sun dips low, painting the sky in hues of amber and rose. That's when you'd spot Victor, a 71-year-old former carpenter with hands still calloused from years of crafting cabinets and rocking chairs. His backyard workshop, filled with the scent of sawdust and the hum of a radio, is his sanctuary, a place where he sands wood into smooth curves and builds birdhouses for the neighbors. But these days, his hammer feels heavier, his knees creak when he stands, and after lunch, he's taken to napping on the old recliner by the window. It's a deep, hour-long plunge into sleep, the kind that leaves sawdust on his shirt and the radio playing to an empty room. He'd say, it's just a break, a way to keep going. But lately, climbing the stairs to his bedroom feels like scaling a mountain, and he wonders why his strength, once as reliable as the oak he shaped, is slipping away. Your body is built for motion, a symphony of muscles and joints that thrive on use, especially as the years stack up. For Victor, staying active has always been second nature, lifting planks, hauling tools, chasing his grandkids around the yard. But when daytime sleep stretches too long, it's not just his workshop that goes quiet. His whole body slows down. A study in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity found that older adults who nap excessively are far less active, their days bleeding into stillness. The result? Weaker muscles, slower reflexes, a frame that feels less steady with every step. Every hour Victor spends dozing is an hour not spent swinging a hammer or stretching his legs, and over time, that stillness chips away at the strength he's carried like a badge of honor. Dr. Patricia Owens, a geriatric mobility expert with a no-nonsense warmth, sits in her clinic, surrounded by models of joints and posters of active seniors. Muscle mass doesn't vanish overnight, she says, her voice steady as she adjusts her glasses. It's the slow drip of inactivity that does it. When you nap too much, you're not engaging those muscles, lifting, bending, walking. They weaken, and suddenly, everyday things get harder. Victor's felt it, the way his arms tremble when he carries a bag of birdseed, or how he hesitates before stepping off the porch. It's sarcopenia, the age-related muscle loss that creeps in faster when you sit still too long. For a man who built his life with his hands, it's a quiet betrayal he never expected. Then there's the grogginess. Waking from a long nap, Victor feels heavy, his legs unsteady as if they've forgotten how to move. That sluggishness lingers, sapping his drive to finish the birdhouse or take his usual evening walk. Dr. Owens nods knowingly. Extended sleep drops your circulation, delays muscle activation. You wake up weaker, not stronger, and that makes you want to move even less. Victor's noticed it, how he shuffles to the kitchen instead of striding, how the grandkids' roughhousing leaves him winded. Falls are a growing worry too. A misstep on the workshop floor last week sent his heart racing, a reminder of how fragile balance can become. If you've ever stood up from a nap feeling like your body's betrayed you, limbs sluggish, steps uncertain, you might see Victor's shadow in your own mirror. He's starting to question those naps, especially after his daughter suggested a walker he's too proud to use. The fix is within reach. Cap naps at 20 to 30 minutes, then stir the day with motion. Sanding a plank, strolling to the mailbox, stretching by the window. For Victor, it's a chance to keep his hands steady, his legs strong, his independence intact, because every birdhouse he builds is a testament to a body that still has work to do. Number 7, affects mood and mental health. Imagine a quiet evening, the kind where the crickets hum a lullaby and the last rays of daylight fade into twilight. That's when you'd find Lila, a 67-year-old artist with a spirit as vibrant as the watercolors she brushes across canvas. Her little studio, tucked in a corner of her home, is a riot of color. Tubes of paint scattered like confetti, sketches pinned to the walls, the faint scent of turpentine in the air. Painting has been her lifeline since her husband passed, a way to pour grief and joy into something tangible. But lately, her brushstrokes feel heavier, her inspiration dimmer. After lunch, she's taken to napping, long, sprawling rests on the chaise by the window, the afternoon light filtering through her eyelashes. She tells herself it's a pause, a way to recharge. Yet when she wakes, the world feels grey, her heart a little heavier, and she wonders why the spark she's always carried is flickering. Sleep can be a gentle friend, lifting your spirits with a quick rest. But when it lingers too long in the daylight hours, it can cast a shadow over your mind. A study in the Journal of Geriatric Psychiatry found that older adults who nap more than an hour a day are more likely to grapple with depression, anxiety, and a creeping sense of isolation. For Lila, those naps, sometimes stretching to 2 hours, aren't just stealing time from her easel. They're dimming the light she needs to thrive. Researchers point to a cascade of effects: less sunlight to lift her mood, fewer chats with friends over tea, a disrupted rhythm that throws off the neurotransmitters, like serotonin, that keep her steady. Dr. Angela Reed, a psychiatrist with a gentle voice and a shelf full of books on the mind, explains it over a cup of chamomile in her cozy office. "Your body and soul need a beat to follow," she says, tracing a circle in the air. "Too much daytime sleep cuts you off. From light, from people, from purpose. That's when the darkness creeps in." Lila's felt it. The way she wakes from a nap, feeling not rested, but adrift, her thoughts sluggish and tinged with sadness. She used to paint until dusk, losing herself in swirls of blue and gold. Now, she stares at a blank canvas, the urge to create buried under a fog she can't name. Dr. Reed's eyes soften as she adds, "Serotonin needs daylight and motion to flow. Nap too long and it stalls, leaving you irritable, tired, even lonely." Lila's noticed that too, how she skips her weekly art group more often, how the phone feels too heavy to pick up. The more she naps, the more the world shrinks, and the harder it is to climb out of that quiet, heavy place. If you've ever woken from a long nap, feeling not refreshed but hollow, like the day's joy slipped through your fingers, you might hear Lila's sigh in your own breath. She's starting to wonder if her naps are worth the cost, especially after a tearful afternoon when she couldn't finish a painting of her husband's favorite oak tree. The good news is small steps can shift the tide. Shorter naps, 20 to 30 minutes, paired with a walk to feel the sun on her face, a chat with a neighbor, a brushstroke to reclaim her fire. For Lila, it's a chance to paint her way back to herself, to keep her colors bright against the gray. Final thoughts. As the sun sets on this journey, take a moment to sit with these stories. Margaret in her garden, Harold in his workshop, Ellen with her cat, Clara at her stove, Thomas with his books, Gloria in her garden, Victor in his shed, Lila at her easel. Each one carries a piece of you, perhaps, a nap you've cherished, a restlessness you've wrestled with, a heaviness you've brushed aside. Daytime sleep can feel like a gift, a soft landing in a busy world. But when it stretches too far, it weaves a web of unintended threads, a scrambled circadian rhythm, a restless night, a sluggish body, a foggy mind, a strained heart, a weaker frame, a dimmer spirit. These aren't loud alarms, they're whispers, building over time until the life you love feels just out of reach. The beauty is, you hold the power to shift it. If Margaret trims her naps, she might dance with her grandkids again. If Harold stays awake, his nights could find peace. Ellen could dream deeply, Clara could savor her stew, Thomas could reclaim his words, Gloria could tend her garden with ease, Victor could swing his hammer, and Lila could paint the sunset. It's not about banishing rest, it's about finding balance. Try capping naps at 20 to 30 minutes, stepping into the daylight, moving your body, engaging your mind. Picture it, a walk through crunching leaves, a laugh with a friend, a moment of clarity that lights you up. These small acts can reset your rhythm, lift your energy, and weave a healthier, brighter thread through your days. What about you? Have you felt the tug of a nap, its comfort, its cost? Maybe it's helped you through a long day, or maybe it's left you staring at the ceiling when the stars come out. Share your story. How has daytime sleep touched your life? What's one spark from this you'll carry forward? A shorter nap, a step outside, a new rhythm to try. Your voice matters, a thread in this tapestry of experience. For every Margaret, Harold, and Lila out there, your insight might be the nudge they need. Thank you for walking this path with us. Here's to days filled with energy, nights wrapped in rest, and a life that shines a little brighter.